Hey guys, welcome to the Massive Iron Channel. I'm Steve Shaw. In this video, we're going to talk about building bigger arms through concentration. This is Frank Zane style. I'm going to talk about his methods. I'm going to talk about his workouts. We're going to dive into something a little bit different in this video. Before I get into this topic, if you have any questions or comments, drop them down below. The best topic ideas I turn into videos just like this. All right. I'm not the biggest fan of the mind-muscle connection, not because I don't feel it can have value, just because I don't particularly like it. It's just not my style. I find slow, tedious, constant tension type of training to be boring. But there is a way to integrate it, obviously, when you use progressive overload. Anything that is combined with progressive overload can be effective. Now, Frank Zane, Mr. Olympia, right? I interviewed him many years ago. I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago. That interview is still floating around the web, I believe. But this is how he worked his arms, and I'm going to dive into it right now. First thing you need to know is Frank Zane only had, he stated that he had 18-inch arms cold. Frank wasn't a mass monster. You know, he was obviously a little bit enhanced, so it was a little bit bigger than he would have been naturally, but not supersized, only 18 inches cold. But Frank really liked to work his arms with peak contraction and continuous tension. Now, I want to state something before I dive into this stuff. I talked to Frank Zane. I know that he built his base on what he told me at the time were called the odd lifts. The odd lifts. Sounds like a crazy thing to call them, but back in the day, this is what they called the powerlifting style movements. So Frank built a lot of his base on the fundamentals, the heavy compound movements. Just understand that as a framing post before we dive into this. All right, so there are two main things that Frank used to work his biceps and triceps and forearms through concentration. Number one was peak contraction. At the top of a movement, okay, at the top of a curl or at the bottom of a tricep extension, Frank would always make sure that it was tense, very tense and fully contracted as much as he could be. He would say at the end of a set, you should feel an aching, a cramping, or a burning, or a combination thereof. So, peak contraction at the top of a bicep, movement, at the bottom of a tricep movement, you want to force that contraction, really tense the muscle group, the targeted muscle group. Another thing that Frank Zane focused on was continuous tension. Now, this is more slow, controlled movements, mind-muscle connection stuff. When you're doing a curl, he wouldn't just swing it up. He would make sure he felt that continuous tension. That doesn't mean you have to go super slow-mo, but you can just feel that continuous tension. A lot of times that just comes from forcing or engaging in a contraction during the movement. Like when you're doing a tricep press down, you can kind of feel that tension the whole way. So it's a mind-muscle connection thing. But again, for those of you that want to try this stuff, if you want to try peak contraction and continuous tension, you have to still be focused on progressive overload. If you're doing the Frank Zane workouts, which we're going to dive into here shortly, and you're doing like a 5x6 on a barbell curl, you have to add weight when it makes sense. You can't continue to use these techniques with the same set and rep scheme and not get stronger. You're not going to build any quality amount of muscle mass. Now, the last point of note here, Frank Zane divided his arm work into 3 parts: biceps, triceps, and forearms. I believe he did a body part split and had a day for each one. He may have trained like Arnold and Lou and Columbo and all those guys from that era. He may have trained biceps, triceps, and forearms twice a week in kind of that type of split. I'm not sure if you know, just drop that down below. But here's basically what Frank would do. He had 2 bicep workouts, 2 tricep workouts, and his forearm workout, which was really simple. The bicep workout, he had his main and what he would call the alternative. His tricep workout, the main and the alternative, and again, just one workout for forearms. Now, If you want to try something like this, you could just try one program at a time, the biceps or triceps, or you could do what I like to do during my years of training, and that would be to alternate between these two. I didn't do these workouts, but I would alternate between an A and B type of workout. So when I was working chest, I might lead with barbell bench press one week, and then the next week I would lead with dumbbell bench press. I might follow up barbell bench press with dumbbell incline bench press and do something as a backup on the second day. So if you want to try this, you can do either one of the workouts or alternate week in and week out. Doesn't really matter. All right, so you'll see here, for his bicep work, Frank had a lot of 5x6s and only one 5x8. That's 5 sets by 6 reps, 5 sets by 8 reps. Because of the continuous tension, because of the peak contraction, pretty intense reps, pretty intense sets, so he tended to keep the rep count rather low. You have incline dumbbell curls. He would lay back on a bench, incline bench, and do his dumbbell curls on there. You have Scott bench cable curls, which are basically what we know as the the preacher bench. I believe the Scott bench, they might have just had their arm over a bench. I'm not really certain. I didn't research that, but I know it's pretty similar. You could do a easy, the easy where you do the easy bar curls on the bench, a preacher curl. You could do that with a cable curl. He also would have the dumbbell curl, the alternating. This is ALT. I was confusing myself reading it as AH there for a second, but that's alternating dumbbell curl. That's an exercise I really like, I really enjoy. His alternative bicep workout would be seated dumbbell curls, Scott bench barbell curls, and the regular barbell curl. So he had more of a dumbbell day and more of a barbell day. Now in triceps, he would start off with pulley pushdowns, which are basically cable tricep extensions, what we tend to call them nowadays. Single arm overhead extension, which is just something like this with a dumbbell. You could also do it with a cable. And close grip bench press. So he would throw in that heavy compound movement at the end and do a reasonable amount of volume. On the alternative day, high rep bench dips as a warm-up. So Frank would do a lot of high rep bench dips. What could you do? You could set I do this type of programming a lot with my clients. I'll give them a 50 or 100 total goal and just have them do 50 in any time frame. Just try to knock out 50, resting as needed. Try to knock out 75, resting as needed. Try to knock out 100, resting as needed. Then Frank would move on to lying pulley press outs. Now, basically he would lie on the floor with his head towards the cable thing, and it would be like a cable tricep extension, except he's lying on his back. And finally, everybody's least favorite tricep exercise, but if you do it for volume, it's probably a good finisher for pump. Tricep kickback or the dumbbell kickbacks. For forearms, all Frank did was the wrist roller. And honestly, when you have all this work and all the barbell work with the rest of your programs, that's probably all you really need for forearms. So that's it, guys. That is how to work your arms, build bigger arms through concentration, Frank Zane style. So guys, hope this video has been of some help. If you have any questions or comments, drop them down below. If you made it this far in this video and have yet to subscribe to my channel, please do. I'd appreciate the support. So guys, as always, thanks for watching. Have a great day.